Hello. So the intro might need to be tweaked again, huh?
You're muted.
I shouldn't be. Are you not hearing me? It claims to be broadcasting me. Or am I like super delayed?
Okay, so I'm at 30 and you're not. I don't hear nothing.
Really?
Yes.
It says I'm totally live and all like that. Do you have two windows open with the Twitch window, maybe?
No. Not now. I did.
Alright. So you're still not seeing anything?
I see you.
Alright.
But I don't hear you. At all.
What in the world? Everything's set the same way. All the levels look the same.
Okay, I'm going to shut it off and restart it.
Is there a mute? Does it come up mute? Is that the problem?
Okay, now I can see you, but you're already delayed. But
Yes, he is. Reminders.
okay, talk.
Okay, talk.
Alright, okay, I can hear you now.
Alright, everything's set up now? Cool.
Yes.
So, if you remember from last time, we were planning on doing this launch to orbit script.
Right.
It is much the same for the launch to orbit, although the parameters as to when to do things have changed. Like this actually had this booster separation stage as part of this whole process, which it is, but it's better to handle it somewhat differently than trying to handle it in line with everything else you're doing. And I'll show you why that's useful here in a sec. So let us be over to the game window.
To the what window?
The game window.
Why are you muted?
The game sound should be there.
So there's a big old mic with a mute on it on my side.
Well, it is in there. Alright. But I'm not actually muted.
No.
Alright, I think it's fixed.
So there, now it's gone. But the sound is gone as well. There's the sound coming back.
Yeah. Well, the sound goes away every time you leave the game window. It also won't continually project or get captured without the game.
It's a big rocket with some big rockets.
Yep.
Boosters.
Some liquid boosters. Liquid booster rocket.
I have a lot to say about that.
I'm sure you do. So, we want to go in here and change this guy's program, yes? So, most of the program is held inside the capsule, because that's what commands most of the rocket. But you can also script what happens inside the parachute. But inside the part.
Inside the parachute?
Yeah, so the parachute can have a flight program as well.
Huh.
And he has a really simple flight program. On start, wait until I'm above 5,000 meters. Wait until I'm below 1,500 meters. When that happens, activate the stage and deploy the parachute. Really simple program, right? So it's fully automatic, there's no real thinking about it, and now anytime you drop that parachute, you get the same program, right?
Alright.
So that's useful.
Alright.
But for the craft as a whole, we have a slightly larger program now. And here should be... See how that looks over here. Oh, that's good.
Wow.
So, it's actually kind of broken down into individual functions and stages. So as you can see on the actual main program,
oh my goodness, is the master outline.
it is much like an outline. So this is the main program, which says we're going to go through these 5 stages. Countdown, Ascent, Orbital Insertion, Circle-ize the orbit, and then Deorbit, which is Descent, and then this used to have, deploy parachute, but that's in the parachute now.
Alright.
So those are the major functions. These are what they actually break down to.
I might actually understand this.
Alright. So this is literally programming. This is every version of programming. And it's every version of programming. It's just shown in a different way.
Yeah.
Each language has a different way of specifying what a function is. This one calls them custom instructions. And whether or not you can pass parameters to a custom instruction, which this one has.
Right.
So the countdown step, pretty straightforward.
Right.
Display 3, wait 3 seconds, display throttle up, set the throttle to 1, wait 2 seconds.
It's just programming.
It is, and it's very self-documenting.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that it doesn't say, well, why do you want throttle to be all the way up?
Well, you don't have to put the parentheses and the parent.
Right, all that kind of thing, right?
But
and you can very easily copy whole lines over and everything. There's only one main thing I have a whine about, and I think I have a way of fixing it, which is all these comparisons. Greater than, equal to, less than, equal to. I'd rather just have one comparison block where I can drop down and pick from these types of comparisons. Because when you have to change it, it's kind of kludgy. Like if I want to change this from greater than equal to less than equal to, I have to drag out another less than equal to block. Then I got to change out the parameters that are in it, and then I got to put it back and all that kind of thing. It'd be so much easier if I could just drop down the type right there. So anyway,
this is the beta, right?
It is, and I'm sure they'll take some of this to account. But I think I could also create a custom instruction, right, called CMP for compare, perhaps. And it would take 3 parameters, and the center parameter would be you would type less than or equal to, and so on, like you would in code. And then the function would say if this second parameter is this character, well then do this comparison, right? So I think I could wiggle. I can sort of code around that. I haven't yet, but anyway. So our countdown stage basically displays some stuff, waits some time, throws up the throttle, turns on navigation, sets the heading to current, which is the rocket's pointing mostly straight up. It's actually not exactly 90 degrees. You'll start seeing that when it puts out numbers here. Then it waits a second, displays go for launch. And that's just the countdown. Of course, it doesn't actually activate anything, and there could be, logically, there would be a step between countdown and ascent, which would be the clearance for launch. But we don't have that label, so. And right now, as soon as we go to the launch pad, the countdown begins. So that's the other reason why it's in there, to give us some time to think about what's going on. So the ascent stage is activate the stage, which fires the boosters. We wait until our meters above ground is greater than equal to 1,000. Again, all these comparisons of greater than equal are done because it's very hard for the program to come around. The program comes around every so often, like 20 times a second. Well, your value might be, at one point, 900, and then by the time it comes around again, it's 1,001. And so it's never equal to 1,000, right? Not as far as your code is concerned. So we wait till 1,000 meters, we display the grav pitch over and the actual altitude at which we recognized that it was time to turn over.
Yeah. Because
by the time I see this, it looks like we're at like 1,400, right?
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be 1,000. And you just do a little chat there. So, so we set the craft heading to 90 degrees, which is due east. Get that gravity turn, gravity assist, and we get our pitch to 90, which is really just done. I do this because this slow pitch over function runs off the current actual pitch, not what you wanted it to be. So you can set the craft pitch to, say, 80, but it may take some time to get there. So there's a difference between the nav pitch, which is the current value of where your nav is, and the set the craft pitch. So it's just like turning the wheel, but then it takes time for the car to turn, right? So one of them is really how far you've turned the wheel. The set craft pitch is where have you turned the wheel to, and the nav pitch is where the actual aircraft is, or in this case, spacecraft is. So originally our first pitch overs were just go from pitch 90 to pitch 75, and the rocket ship would go right, which is really rough. So we created this slow pitch over function, and it contains two parameters: a step size and the number of steps. So originally I was going to make this like 5 degrees per step, and I fiddled with various values, and then eventually it all ended up being -1. So it moves 1 degree per step, in this case -1, so it goes from 90 downward. And it does 15 steps, so that goes from 90 to 75, right? And what this is essentially a little substitute for this whole block. So everywhere slow pitch over is, it's like having this whole block in there over and over again. And that makes sense.
Slow instead of the way it was.
Right. But it makes sense to take something that's repetitive like this and make it as a function, separate from this whole line of code. Because if I change the logic, which I did have to change the logic in here a couple of times, then it changes for every time it's used. You don't have to change the logic in 3 places. And of course, on really super gargantuan programs, you can see how that would be a headache.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
So the slow pitch over, we give it the step size and the steps. We set a variable to the pitch change, which is where we want to be, right? And I set it to the current pitch, which, like I said, may not be exactly where we left it. Right? And then we're going to repeat this block in blue however many times we said steps, which in this case is 15.
15?
Yeah. And then we're going to... So step size is -1 and steps is 15. The first time we call it.
Yeah.
So we repeat 15 times. The pitch change is going to be set to the pitch change plus the step size, which, since it's -1, actually does a -1. So pitch comes into here. Initially it's about 90. It does this line. Now it's about 89. And we set craft pitch to about 89.
Right.
Then we wait 1/10 of a second. It's 1/10 of a second because when I initially did this at once a second, it took forever. 1 degree, per second, or 5 degrees per second. None of that seems to work very well. And I don't know if it depends on your system if 0.1 seconds it can actually time, if it's actually that responsive. But in any case, it seems to work. And then when we're all done with that pitch over, I display what pitch we ended up at. Right? So this whole block goes in there those 3 times. So the first time is at 1,000 AGL.
Right.
We pitch over to 75. We reduce throttle so as to not waste on atmospheric heating. We wait again until we're at 5,000 feet. We again display a message about when we reacted.
Right.
When we came out of this wait until, basically. Another slow pitch over another 15 degrees from 75 to 60.
Right.
Wait until AGL is 150,000. Now, I've been trying to make this as generic as possible for whichever rocket, which is why you'll notice there's no staging in here. Yeah. Other than the beginning, there's no activating the stages. That's actually its own little program running on its own thread.
That you made?
Yeah, it's over here in the corner. It's over here under auto staging. So there's actually going to be 2 programs running here and a 3rd one running in the parachute. Those are essentially 3. Well, I guess the parachute would have its own separate processor in the real world. But in this model, it's 3 threads, 3 programs that are running in parallel. Right? So, let's see. We display the 5,000, 1,500. Then we set our throttle to full throttle. Right? and then we continue the pitch over to 30 degrees, so this time it's 30 degrees pitch over instead of 15 the other 2 times. And then in this case, I'm going to wait for the booster, and it says booster and core, but this is where we get to play with some things. So this wait until the stage is equal to 0 is basically wait until the fuel in the current stage is equal to 0, which in this case happens to be the boosters. But for this to be generic, I don't necessarily get to this point of 1500 and throttle up with boosters, right? So this is something that through experimentation I found out. I also found out you can't check the fuel in the stage too quickly. Because this thread doesn't disconnect the booster when it runs out of fuel. It waits until the booster runs out of fuel. Then it waits 5 more seconds. Then it waits for the fuel in what is now the center core to get to 20%. That's kind of an arbitrary value, but it was just so that I had some fuel in the center core for the orbital insertion burn. So I wait until the fuel gets to 0, and then I wait 5 seconds for the other thread, and this is, you know, in real life you would be a little bit more coordinated. So the reason why I'm waiting that 5 seconds is to make sure that this auto staging thread has had a chance to operate. So the auto staging thread starts at the same time as the countdown thread.
Alright.
And it waits until we have an above ground of 5,000 feet above ground.
Alright.
And then it does what a staging thread would do. Wait for the fuel in the stage to reach 0 and throw it away. Right?
Okay.
And then display the booster jettison, and then we wait 1 more second, and we activate the next stage, which is the core engine. Then we ignite the core engine, we set the throttle to 1, we wait 1 second, because again, the system wants to give you, can't check the staging, the fuel of the stage too quickly. It gets a little bit of confusion there, or maybe just, I don't know.
Too much back and forth.
Yeah. So in any case, it waits until the fuel in the next stage, the core, is 0, and then it throws it away. There's your core jettison. It waits a second and then activates the stage 3 engine. So those are all of the stages in this rocket. And see, all of this will be the same no matter what the other program is for the Ascent. Whenever you run out of fuel, you're going to stage. Right? So that program is pretty generic. So we had our Ascent stage, we pitched over, we wait for our fuel, this 5 seconds, you know, ideally there's some other thing I could check, like, is booster still attached, or something like that, rather than just wait 5 seconds. Right? I'd also like to say fuel in stage booster. You know, it says all stages, the monopropellant, the battery, or the current stage that's burning. I'd rather be able to say fuel in boosters equals 0 to be more exact about it, right? So we wait until the boosters get to 0, we throw them away, we wait 5 seconds, we wait until the center core gets to 20% fuel, and then that's what it was previously. We would take this down to 0, but that would get us into too high on orbit. But we could wait until core burnout. Then when we get to that point, we throttle back to 0, we wait a second, we set the craft pitch to 0 just to let it sit there and coast. And so at that point, we're now coasting up to the Apoapsis burn that we did over and over again. And the Apoapsis burn is also known as the orbital insertion burn. Lock the heading to prograde, and we sit here and wait until our altitude is greater than or equal to the Apoapsis times 0.995. In other words, pretty close. But this is my kind of cheap way of doing, rather getting away without having to do a calculation here. Because,
Cheater.
Yeah, just a slight cheat. Because what it really should be is my current orbital speed. Well, actually, I should do the calculation to figure out what my delta V is, calculate that out of my engines, ISP and such, And that would give me how many seconds I need to burn, and then cut that in half and make that the time before Apoapsis when you burn. That will be for another day.
Right.
So this is really just a cheap way of saying when you get really close to it, then you're going to start your orbital insertion burn, set the throttle to 1, and wait until the periapsis is greater than or equal to the apoapsis times 0.5, which is to say half. So whatever our apoapsis is, we're going to burn until we get the periapsis to be half of that, which hopefully will be at least 75 kilometers, because that'll still be in space. So if we don't actually manage to reach with 20% of the fuel in the core burned, if we don't reach 150 kilometers or better for our apoapsis, then we won't get to 75 kilometers for our periapsis in this stage. But that's okay, because I intentionally made this 0.995 versus 0.999, which you'll see in these other ones.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be that close. I wanted to burn ahead of the periapsis so that the periapsis will continue to run in front of us. And there's a couple of reasons I did that, but partly so that since it stays in front of us, once we get to our periapsis, half of our apoapsis, then we throttle to 0, we wait 2 seconds, and we throw out our activation group 9, which is code for the solar panels. So that'll turn on our solar panels or put out our solar panels for us. And since we've been pushing our apoapsis in front of us in this time, that means that our circulization burn, or Circle-ize burn, is like Circle-ize the orbit, which happens next. It waits for you to reach the apoapsis again, except this time 0.999 of the apoapsis instead of 0.995. And that way, when you burn, your apoapsis doesn't really get in front of you too much, and your apoapsis doesn't grow. Because I'm trying to get to the point where, well, first off, I have to put the solar panels away, right? Wait 5 seconds. Because you don't want to fire your rockets with your solar panels hanging out, because there's some, it's not windy up there, but you do have the problem of inertia. So you don't want the little tips of your little solar panels to flap off.
Rip off.
Right. So we're going to put our solar panels away. We'll wait 5 seconds for them to complete again. If I had to wait until panel 9 has completed its animation, I'd do that. But otherwise, we wait 5 seconds. Set the pitch to 0, heading to prograde. This is kind of redundant. It should just be heading to prograde, but for exactitude reasons, I'm doing both. Just to be exact. Then we're going to set the throttle to 0.2, which is 20%. I tried 0.1, it took too long. I tried 0.3, I overshot. So, this is kind of a magic number, which we really hate in code. Magic numbers like 0.2 or 0.999 or 0.995. Those should really be replaced with some symbolic constant like close to and really close to and just a little bit before.
Almost.
This one's a little bit before because it's the periapsis, right? So the apoapsis is, we're growing towards that number. The periapsis, we're descending to that number. So anyway, we've throttled 20. And then we're going to wait until this orbit X value is greater than or equal to 0.95. Now, I thought I would use orbit X more than once, but I didn't. And therefore, I created this, what they call a custom expression, which is orbit X returns the periapsis divided by the apoapsis. The apoapsis is always bigger. So this gives us a number that's either going to be somewhere between 0, well, it should probably never be 0, but somewhere between some really small number and 1. So the closer we get to 1, the closer these two are equal numbers, right? And that's the goal of circularizing an orbit, is to have your periapsis and apoapsis to be roughly equal. Again, this is why we're pushing the apoapsis in front of us, so that in the orbit burn, so that we will only be a minute or two away from our Circle-ize burn, and our really low 75 kilometer periapsis won't matter for long because we'll never actually go there. Right? So I thought I'd use Orbit X more often. That's why I created an expression out of it. But anyway.
I'm buffering. And hi, new people in the room.
Hi there. So that'll display that we circle-ized complete, give us both our Periapsis and Apoapsis, even though we kind of already see them. Cut off our throttle and put out our solar panels again. And that's when it's going to start taking a while. Because the next thing after Circle-ize orbit is Deorbit. Well, that was a short trip. Again, we've been pushing our Apoapsis in front of us, which is useful. Because now what we're going to do is wait until we're almost at our Periapsis. When we reach that, which means we'll have gone all the way around at least once, we'll cross the Apoapsis, get to the Periapsis. I don't know if I'm circling inside the window or not.
No, you're running out of the window.
Running out of the window. We'll cross the Apoapsis, we'll cross the Periapsis. When we get to the Periapsis, we'll shift ourselves retrograde, because we'll need to do that when we reach the Apoapsis yet again. And again, this is really close to the Apoapsis versus only slightly close to. That's when we start our deorbit burn. We go to a throttle for 1, and we burn until our Periapsis is less than or equal to 55 kilometers, which on planet Drew here seems to be a reasonable enough point. We'll have our burn complete, shut our throttle down, wait 2 seconds to make sure the throttle isn't pushing. Again, with these delays in the staging. Because if you don't throttle back before you stage the third stage, the third stage continues burning and pushes you, but you're not attached anymore. So, not a good idea. So it's good to give it a little time to let all of the last bit of the engine burn to complete and not be pushing anymore. You know what I'm saying? So then we're going to just ditch the third stage, and we'll be ready for re-entry. And hope that parachute program works. Right?
Right?
How's that for a full and complete program?
Yeah, sounds great.
Alright, now it just has to do it right.
Hi, everybody new in the room.
We're about to launch. Okay, when we go to launch, the countdown will start.
It won't, it just takes off.
So it does have a countdown. That's the countdown stage.
Alright.
So it gives us just a little bit of time to get oriented. And so all I'm going to do during this, you'll see my hands a lot. There's no hand flying. There's just window moving and some... Here we go.
Throttle up.
Throttle up.
Dude, go for launch.
There we go. We're crossing 1,000 on the altitude. We should begin our first pitch over. It recognized it. Pitch to 75 degrees. Let's see. There we go. And then we're going to get to about 5,000. And
that's a nice looking rocket there.
There she goes. It's actually the tutorial rocket. I'm not going to fight building a rocket yet. I'm going to program a stock rocket first. Had a lot of fights with the non-stock rockets over in the Kerbal world. We're coming up on 15,000. We'll pitch over yet some more. Doodly-doo, waiting for the pitch over.
So that's really good graphic.
I know, I like the
horizon.
So we managed to pitch to 29.86 degrees instead of 30. Oh!
86.
Wasn't even expecting it.
It really went for it. Oh.
So now, here's our Apoapsis. We want to make sure, so we're going to burn to 20%. We should burn to 20% of this stage fuel. And we'll leave it out there for the Apoapsis, which should only be a minute or so away. So that's the other thing I'm trying to do, is keep these snappy and not take so long to get where we're going.
Hi everybody new in the room.
Here we go. We're at 47%. Can you see my hands tinted?
I can't see your hands at all.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Instead of all this, it's all this. Okay, 20%. Cut off the fuel. Core burnout. Well, not exactly core burnout. But we got an Apoapsis of 154. That's pretty good. Yay! So, and we also have a whole 3 minutes to the Apoapsis, the Apo burn. So what's going to happen is when the Apo burn begins, you'll see that the time to Apoapsis continues to stay out there. It should be about, I think it was about 40 seconds last time, 45 seconds. So during this 2.5 minutes, we can discuss some other things. Or we can very oh-so-carefully warp.
No.
We can do 2 fast forward totally safely. So we'll...
I don't believe in your warping abilities.
Do not warp too quickly!
2 minutes.
Well, let's see. It's 1.7. We'll cut it off at a minute. Like they usually do. Cut off warp at a minute. I don't have all the key shortcuts for this one. Although most of them are the same, it appears. They're trying to keep them more or less universal, I think. Alright, 60 seconds till. We'll go back to normal speed. We'll get the nice...
Pretty zen.
Yeah, right? And just chill and watch the orbit.
I like it.
Let's watch some cinematic views. There it goes. Coasting by. So let's see, where are we? We're 20 some seconds to the Apoapsis.
Wow.
Oh, there we go. Orbital insertion warp just when I was getting worried.
Yeah.
But note that the time to Apoapsis is staying about the same. And now it begins to get pushed in front of us. Right? So, there we go. Yes, nice and automatic core jettison.
Yay.
And we continue the burn until our Periapsis is, well, it's 155.6, but since it's continually comparing, here in a few seconds, once we start getting any kind of Periapsis, the Apoapsis will begin to grow. You'll see it's already growing as we push it in front of us. So, but it's a continuous comparison. So there we go. And the solar panels are out. We have just automatically put our satellite in orbit. What fun! Now he's got a long ways to go to the next stage of this, which is all the way around to the Periapsis. But he's got less than a minute to the Apoapsis, at which point I don't think he does anything, actually. I'm not even sure if it even puts out a note that it reaches the Apo. And we got 22 minutes. Oh, I'm off in my whole thing. Good thing the program knew what it was doing. There's our Circle-ize burn. Oh, I was completely off.
You were completely off.
I thought he was already in. Oh, there's our Circle-ize complete at 157 by 149. That's pretty close, huh?
149.
Now we're waiting on the Apoapsis and the Periapsis. Sometimes it's good to have automatic software. Right? So I was about to start warping my craziness.
Especially for us.
So this is where I'm hoping in the replacement, maybe around about here, I'll put...
do that.
What now? Don't do what?
Don't be warping.
Well, in a minute.
Oh,
But so roundabout here, I was going to put, the stage of the program that was operating during this video. I think that'll help line everything up, especially since I didn't remember it offhand. Alright. So we'll start gliding through the air. Oh, that's a quick flyby. Ooh. That's some weird stuff. Oh, I guess the flybys are sped up by the warp, too. Not a very dramatic flyby when it happens in 2 seconds. Ooh, look at that.
wow.
We got a nice battery all charged up. He's coming up on the Periapsis. So we're going to let him go just 2 times speed. Because we don't want to miss it.
That warp was ridiculous.
Well, we're got 4.8 minutes to the Periapsis. And I forget exactly how close I made it. But the next stage should be a note that we've hit the Periapsis. And that it flips to Retrograde. Any minute now.
Anytime.
So we'll leave it on 2x speed. Just so it doesn't take forever. But we don't want to miss it. Here we go. Any minute now.
Oh boy.
Come on, program!
Listen to the music come up. Whoa.
La-dee-da-dee-doo.
Are you watching paint dry?
I am waiting for Periapsis. It's like waiting for Paintiapsis. The low point in the painting. I've blown past this spot so many times in the previous testing. And if you do, it just flips like it got hit by something. Good. Oh, there she goes. Periapsis reached. And she did her retrograde.
Oh.
Alright, now we gotta cruise back around to the Apoapsis so that she can fire and lower the Periapsis into the atmosphere at about 50 kilometers. Right? So we're going to have to fast forward somewhat, since that's 23 minutes away otherwise. Bring it down to about, like we did before. I don't think it's all that exact on the Apoapsis because it's a reentry burn. It doesn't have to be exact.
Right.
But it's not all that hard. I mean, exact is defined as either 0.999 or 0.995. Alright. Let's get within about 5 minutes of the Apoapsis. And then we'll go just 2x. Luckily, all the programming works. Actually, you can't be warping for the engine to fire. So, one of the bonuses of putting up those display messages is that if you see it say it's doing the deorbit burn, you can take it off warp to actually do it. And since we're not doing something exact like a lunar transfer would be a much more exact burn that would have to be done at an exact time, right?
Right.
And that might be the next stage to this, I think. Maybe the next stage is, instead of just doing a couple of orbits, and then, well, one orbit, and doing a deorbit and descent, maybe the next stage is we get into orbit, we get Circle-ize like this, and completely in code, without looking at map view, we figure out where the moon is and how to get there. And that'll be some useful code development in my mind.
Right?
Here we go. Any minute now. 2.7 minutes to the Apo and the Deorbit burn. Doodly-doo.
Well, there's a lot of people hanging out, but nobody's talking.
Oh, that's okay. We're waiting for it to fail. I know they are.
No.
Well, it looks like it looks like it'll make it. Just it surprises me sometimes when the events hit, and I'm not expecting them, like the boosters. Oh, there's the Deorbit burn. Yeah, well, it didn't take much, and we managed to make it to 41 kilometers. Now we get to do the big, dramatic... We ditched the stage 3. Now we get to do the super dramatic warp of 100x, because it stops at the atmosphere.
Can't see that because the flight...
I know. Here we go. Whee!
There it is. There you can see it.
Flying into the sun!
That's really pretty.
And we're at 58,000 feet. And let's see. About 50, not far, not much difference. But it does look like we're going to be landing in the water. Which is always a bonus, landing in the water.
Why?
Softer. Just ask the poor Russians, who didn't land so softly. Although I think landing in the water without a parachute wouldn't have helped them. But they landed out in the wherever stand. What is it? Ukraine somewhere? Oh, we're getting some reentry heating. Here it comes.
Where?
I can hear it. Let's see.
I don't see it.
There's our temp.
Where?
It just popped up.
Minus.
And it should be a new window. New window up in the upper left.
Upper left.
There's heat shield.
Oh.
Did you see it? Or is it just that delay?
Yeah, I see that. Over here's temperature.
Yeah, that's the outside temperature. Negative 186.
Oh yeah, there he's getting blue. This has nice music.
Yeah, right. It's all very chill.
It is.
Just waiting for my automated spaceship. Doodly-doo. Like he's going 2,000 meters a second. That's like
We're
ridiculous.
gonna be way out in the middle of the water.
Yeah, we are. Luckily, there's no, wait for ship to pick you up kind of problem. Looks like our temp's going down on our heat shield, so we've already gone through the worst of it.
And you don't get, like science and stuff when you get there. What do you get?
Not so far. So this is an early access game, right?
Oh,
so
beta.
I'm not sure what all features they're going to be looking at. They keep reminding me that your price of your spacecraft is 3.7 million. Not that it matters for now. So suddenly I'm going to have to start buying tokens or something to build a spacecraft. But so far, kind of have an unlimited budget. So we'll see what all they manage. I think most of it is challenges, like get something into orbit, get 2 craft into orbit to meet. Some of the instructions are things like some of the events in the instructions are things like when craft A and craft B are within a certain distance of each other, that kind of thing, or when they've docked, or when they've collided.
Nobody thinks you're gonna crash.
I don't
coming
think.
in?
Yeah, well, we've already managed to go through the re-entry. It was actually quite cool doing that atmospheric capture instead of the ballistic re-entry. So we're going, yeah, we're 260, 250. This is probably the weirdest, most nerve-wracking part of this because the parachute is humongous. And unlike the Kerbin parachute that sort of comes out and flaps about and takes a little while to open, this one just kind of goes poof! Let's see how far back I gotta be zoomed. Plus, it happens at 1,500 meters above ground, which looks really, really, really close to the ground. But isn't really because it's like a kilometer and a half. I mean, it's not very close. Let's get the glare out of the way there. Here we go. Any second now. Come on, parachute. Parachute program, don't fail me now. Come on. No. Getting all nerve-wracky. Don't fail me. Oh, there we go. Parachute deployed.
So.
Yep. And look how humongous this thing is.
Oh my god.
That's what I had to do to get it down to 13 meters per second as far as the surface speed, which still, in Kerbin, it's always about 5 or 6 is what you want to land at. This is as big as the parachute as I can make it, and it won't, you know. I suppose I could tweak the physics of the heat shield and make it lighter. Well, in any case, from here on out...
I like the silver water. That's beautiful.
Yeah. That's some decent effects. Water effects and such. Now you're going to start seeing something where the physics are really all confused.
Don't do it. Don't time warp.
Oh, I'm not time warping. So, you can go 2-speed and it not be considered time warp. But if we take it off time warp for sure, long before we, you know, now we're about a football field above, a little less, half a football field. Now here's the thing with this, is there's buoyancy to the craft, right? So it's going to float after it smacks the water.
Yeah.
But then it kind of gets confused. Right? Okay, it bounced. It bounced some more. Alright, it's just kind of sitting there, and then it kind of falls on its side. Oh, it bounces down. Oh, sink down. Whoop, bounce out of the way. Oh, and then I don't know what the hell is happening here. I really don't.
What the hell?
I don't know. It got into some sort of weird loop. Maybe because the parachute's dragging on it. Now the parachute's going to drag it down.
That?
I don't know.
Is there a bounce house under the water that we don't know about?
Oh.
Or is it going to drag it down?
Apparently.
Kill it?
Apparently we're going under the water occasionally.
You can't cut the...
not that I can tell now.
You can't cut the line? Oh, dude.
Not that I can tell now.
That is wrong, Eddie. Wrong.
Come here, you. Not the capsule.
Oh.
Ah, the capsule's being sucked down. Parachute. Explode the parachute.
Oh.
Well, we did that anyway. Parachute deploy.
Oh.
There's got to be some weird physics problem they got between the parachute and the buoyancy and stuff. Well, there we are. We managed to fully take off and land.
Did you survive? Does it tell you that you survived?
Yeah, there it is. But then, you know, it doesn't do like the recover rocket and that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
You don't get anything.
I would report a bug. But it's rather entertaining bug.
That was an entertaining bug.
So we will end this flight and save and exit.
That's awesome. That was 51 minutes. That was great.
That's good.
Yeah.
Like I said, I want to take the I was looking around. It's maybe, you know, like the solar panels could do a program. That'd be interesting, maybe. Yeah, not so much. They have a command pod associated with them, but it doesn't look like you can write a program for them. Oh, and then the other thing that I wanted to see, just as a way to take off here. So I've always been doing this all from the same planet, Drew. And there's several other planets in the system. And so you can just launch from those planets whenever you want. kind of thing. And I think it's back here, actually. So the one thing about the 1,000 meter and the 5,000 and the 15,000 meter points in the Ascent stage, I think those could be replaced with units of atmospheric pressure. Because the reason you're doing it like that is you want to get your horizontal speed up, but you also don't want to go so fast that you burn up extra fuel resisting the atmosphere. But that depends on the atmosphere thickness, density, and that is a parameter you can get to in the script, is the atmospheric density. So maybe those ascent stages could be replaced with atmospheric settings, and then it'd be nice and generic. So let's see if I've never, let's launch from the moon. Well, why not? That'll be quite crazy.
Hi, everybody.
This is completely not designed for a lunar launch. It's way overpowered. Let's just see what the script does for a little bit. We'll probably kill this early. Alright. So I usually go into the craft first. Yeah, this taking off from Luna, it's going to be a mess. We might end up in orbit about the sun. We'll see. Oh, looks like he's about to fall over. Throttle up. Nav. Go for launch. That didn't look very good, did it?
Oh. No.
Woohoo! Pitch to 67 degrees.
Wrong.
Oh, we're going sideways.
Can't be good.
Oh, we're going sideways. This can't be good. More pitch, more speed. Oh, God knows where we're going to end up with all this. I thought there were more planets. I'm going to complain about not having enough planets. Actually, I think there's a mod for our solar system, so that'll be the next thing I want to try. Pitching to 23 degrees, looks like we're shooting for the Earth. So we're doing the same program, but off of a much smaller body. Taking off from the moon. We're flying pretty much straight out to God knows where. And it looks like we're about to fling around the Earth into orbit about the sun.
Gonna orbit the sun?
Apparently. Since this program doesn't know that it's on a new, lighter launch location. It is just firing engines like crazy. It's gonna burn until we're 20% of the core left, and then it's gonna attempt to do an orbit insertion burn, which is completely gonna fail because there's no such thing as a Apoapsis and Periapsis in deep space here. So, in fact, I don't even know what direction it's going to end up pointing. Basically, it's going to do a flyby the Earth. This is the time when you wish you had put in a way to tell it to stop the program. Abort! Abort program! Except for the parachute. Keep the parachute program. But abort this program so I can get it saved. But, oh well. It's not going to get saved. I suppose we can try. Let's point ourselves retrograde. There's no retrograde prograde, is there? Oh no, well yeah, there is. It's just taking forever to turn because we're a big old rocket. Alright, I can burn up the fuel in the stage early and that'll throw off the program. Then it'll get stuck in some spot waiting for an Apoapsis that doesn't exist. So...
Why are you doing that?
Well, we're kind of SOL at the moment. If I do a retro burn here, I should be able to at least get us back into solar orbit, or planet orbit. Or end up getting ourselves in lunar orbit. One of the two. Let's see. Oh, core jettison. Looks like we might end up back at the moon after all.
Watch the people come in when they think you're gonna lose it.
Well, it looks like we're gonna smack this into the planet, so that sounds fun. Let's put out some solar panels just cause.
Why, what are you gonna get? Is this the moon or the sun?
I'm not sure. I think we're going to smack into the moon. We'll make it a lunar impactor trip. Why not? I don't seem to have any control over the directions at all now. Mr. Cloud, or not, what's his name? Pi was asking about whether I'd figured out how to roll as well as pitch and yaw. And now it doesn't look like it's responding to any of them.
Yeah.
Or if it is, very slow. Yeah, it looks like it. Okay, well, it's got one degree of freedom. Well, we should be getting pretty close, I would think, to smacking into the moon. Doesn't want to show that that's our orbit.
Huh.
The orbital looks weird. Oh, well, there we go. Alright, well, I managed to get myself back in orbit about the planet. With 7% fuel left. Hey, let's just go for it. Let's just go for the moon, see if we can get to the moon. Maybe, oh yeah, there's some good little impact to the moon. That's what we're doing. We're smacking into the moon now. We're going way out first and then smacking into the moon, but... Let's see, the program might spit out some messages of things that it's going to do now because we have an Apoapsis and a Periapsis. What? 1.67 hours? Oh, we ain't waiting that long. Nobody wants to wait that long to see it smack into the moon. Whee! Yep, begin orbital insertion burn, it says. It thinks. Yeah, so now it's stuck trying to get our Periapsis above 100 and something. Or above half of the... Trying to get the Periapsis to be half of the Apoapsis. Which ain't gonna happen because it ain't got no fuel. And he's currently on a collision course with the moon.
What do you think?
Let's see. We're going 506. It's gonna be a good schmack. I guess we could stage one more time on the way down. Just as an act of defiance against the moon. The killer moon. Let's see, we get to about, oh, I don't know. Get under 100 kilometers here. We're way further out than I expected. There we go. Alright, in a final act of desperation, we stage the final bit. Whee! There she goes, folks. There goes all our satellites and such. Now we're riding it into the moon. Whoa! I do like being able to look at random stuff, or put the camera on other objects,
Right.
which you can do in Kerbal too. Perhaps to too great a degree, actually. Where's our other piece? Where's our poor capsule? I don't know. It seems helpful, I guess, that we can blow up parts remotely. Let's get closer to the ground. Oh! Went too fast.
That's it. Yeah.
That piece smacked into the ground.
Yeah.
And we're back to the capsule. Say bye-bye, capsule. We miss you. It was a good fun run while it lasted.
Bye-bye.
You might as well throw out your parachute just for giggles. Ain't no atmosphere on the moon. But that's an effectively large parachute for some reason. I don't know, would a parachute just sort of flop out there in the space if there's no air to inflate it? It's certainly not affecting the drag, since there's no air to drag it down. But, you know, a parachute dive of a capsule into the moon looks pretty, don't it? Oh, ain't it nice?
Is it?
I don't know. I wonder if the parachute will blow up too. It's like the milk truck that falls off the cliff blows up, right? Or if we'll just have this parachute laying on the moon forever, doing a whole lot of nothing. We're almost there, folks. Only 33,000 meters to go. I know. He is actually slowing down. Oh, no, he's not.
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
No, he's not. I thought it was slowing down for a second. But no. It's going to be a tragic crash on the dark side of the moon. Probably won't even be pretty. Bound to be an explosion, though. Everybody came here for the explosion, didn't they? Right into the dark. Parachute deployed.
Hey, it's in the dark.
Well, it wasn't in the dark for long. Well, that's pretty much it, folks.
Is it completely over?
Yeah, it went kasploo. So, note to future self, don't launch from strange places.
Well, that was at least interesting.
Yeah, I think if I replay the lines of the script that are happening in the stages, you really get it all related together.
Alright, well that was 105 minutes, and thanks you all for hanging out with us tonight.
Hope you had fun. We're just goofing around, playing something new. We'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.